If you want to learn how to create your own sick intro, you know, one that goes, make sure you guys stick around to the end of this video because I guarantee you guys are going to learn the ins and the outs. We'll go over what techniques you should consider, what software you can use, and some little hacks that'll make your intro stand out amongst the crowd. Anyways, I'm super excited. I know you are too. All right, let's go. Now, this video is sponsored by Storyblocks. You guys may hear the word sponsor and go, all right, this is my time to go ahead and hit that skip button. But trust me, I'm not gonna talk to you guys about some sort of beard cream or trimmers or hair shaver sets or anything else that you probably don't need. Instead, I'm actually talking to you about something that I think is super important for creatives to actually have access to, and that is Storyblocks. Now, the reason why I recommend Storyblocks here on the channel is because I personally think that they're super dope and really useful for creatives. As we get to making even more and more videos, the demands get higher, people still want high quality content, and you can't really sacrifice the output that you're doing because of time constraints or a lack of budget. So one of the cool things about Storyblocks that I find is that they're not only affordable, but they provide you with high quality assets that are royalty free that you can use not just for your personal works, but also for your clients. Now, if you've never heard of me before and this is your first time on the channel, you may be like, why should I even listen to Nate? Who is he? What has he ever worked on? Well, I can tell you that the intros that I've created have costed tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, this one that we use on our show reel literally got us a client to say, yo, I love your intro so much. I think you guys know how to make something really dope and I want that for my brand or my product launch. And yeah, I've worked with startups, I've worked on commercials, all sorts of like short films and personal works. So I think I know a thing or two about intros, even though I will admit my very first works were not the best. All right, I definitely struggled along the way and I didn't have all the answers figured out. So thanks to a huge, awesome community of creatives that have worked on way more projects than I have. I got some friends who have worked on Marvel stuff, who have worked for video games, and getting to pull together that shared knowledge really helps you level up as a motion designer. So if this is your first time, again, I encourage you guys to check out the community that we have here on the channel. We're about 240,000 plus creatives who are really pushing the boundaries, leveling up their skills. It really helps to just get to have a conversation. That's what that comment section down below is for. And we're also gonna be having a Discord channel so you guys can actually share your works, talk to other creatives, and get to have that shared experience as well so that everyone benefits. If that sounds nice to you, make sure you guys go ahead and check that description box. One thing else that you're gonna notice about that description box is Storyblocks. Make sure you don't miss it. Okay, so the very first step of creating an animated intro is to find some inspiration, because on one end, there's the technical aspects of motion design and keyframing, but then on the other higher level understanding, it's just really thinking about what is the process like of creating an intro, what should that workflow even be like, and how should you feel an intro. So some things I really love to consider when making an intro is things like reference footage. So if you've ever done graphic design before, some people may call this a mood board, where you grab together a bunch of different inspirational pieces together and just really think like, hey, I like that color palette, or you know, I really like the shapes and compositions of this. Surprisingly, the same exact techniques can get applied to motion design. Now for inspiration, things to keep in mind is a sense of pacing, color palettes, the way the text is animated on, and the typography, and pretty much anything else that catches your eye. I recommend you go ahead, take down some notes or save them somewhere online in like a Google Doc or something. That way you can really be able to reference that back later on for your own motion design. A lot of projects actually don't just get started by someone just throwing ideas. We tend to look at stuff that looks really awesome and then be like, hey, I think that kind of worked. Maybe I can also try something similar, combining all of those together to create something even better. This stage is considered one of the most fun parts because who doesn't love just checking out inspiring works from different creators? And that's what I love to do. So you can really get inspiration from anywhere. It can be a movie trailer you've seen. It could be someone on Instagram who's just posting awesome work. So we're going to be looking at reference footage, awesome techniques like animations, pacing, typography. Color palettes are also super cool to consider. Another pro tip, if you guys are just starting out and After Effects and learning how to make your own intros or motion graphics here and there, it's super helpful to actually just download a template from Storyblocks, open it up, and then get to see what happens behind the hood in terms of their keyframes and different little techniques that an animator is using. That way you can kind of just go into that project, reverse engineer it, and then immediately walk away from that with a whole lot more knowledge under your belt. It's actually one of the fastest ways that I've used to learn, and that's a really awesome way to level up your skills in a fast amount of time. To make this intro, we're gonna utilize a technique called modular design. Now, if this sounds super boring, almost too techie, just stick with me for a couple seconds. Rather than making all of this in just one go, break this down into little pieces or building blocks. Think of it almost like Legos. If you have your base building block and you add them together and you stack them in all sorts of different ways, you end up getting a pretty cool looking piece by the end of it. The beauty of doing things this way is that you can just make really simple animations and simple scenes that when combined together look that much more impressive. And if you need to take something out, you can do so without completely disrupting your project. And if you need to put something in, you can do the same thing and your project is still probably gonna work. I love doing things this way because once we get into adding some sound design at the end phases, you may realize that you need to just shift things a little bit here and there just to make them match up with that music. It's also really helpful because that means that your animations are not just one and done, but instead you can combine them to really suit whatever needs you have. So something that you create for this project might even get applied to a later project down the road. Pretty cool, huh? Another thing that you may note is that right now all we have is text and some textures over them, but once we start adding in some background footage, things are gonna stand out that much more and really help contextualize everything. So on the channel trailer, we have different scenes from behind the scenes footage to even screen captures of different works that we were working on. And then these texts help say, hey, here's actually what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be making content for you guys. We're gonna be doing new collabs and all of that good stuff. In this section, you can also just go ahead and film your own footage, you know, do something around your surroundings, something that's gonna really help contextualize whatever text it is that you animated. Or you can also go to Storyblocks because they have a bunch of assets, and I mean a whole bunch. So if you need cars to be zooming across the screen, you can type in cars and bam, you got a whole bunch of cars. If you need to see people editing at a computer, you can also type in video editing and you got people video editing. If you have never heard of Storyblocks before, or maybe you've come across them but haven't really signed up before, I gotta say, from my own personal experience, I find them to be super dope. Storyblocks makes it possible for creatives to keep pumping out awesome looking work by being able to use high quality assets in their projects, ranging from videos, images, audio, music, sound effects, templates, and a whole lot more. So for making this intro, we could spend hours upon hours to just come up with our own custom animated textures, or big or here, we can save a huge amount of time by just typing in whatever we want and then having that luxury of kicking back and browsing some awesome stuff. I don't know about you, but I like working smarter, not harder whenever possible. One of the things I like to do is actually browse Storyblocks, check out some of the assets, and get to mix and match, almost like I'm getting the hands and tools of having a whole team behind me just at my fingertips by searching. And I hate to say that this is really about how you feel, but you know, there is an art to video editing, so a lot of the times you may not know until you actually see it right there in your project. Whenever I'm creating now an intro for a client, it really does help to just see how some footage is gonna work, and it really helps that you can just download some footage, put it right behind the text, and instantly you got something that looks pretty dope. Now to take this to the next stages, which is the sound design, I'm gonna export all of this out and plug it into Premiere Pro because that's what I love to use when it comes to sound design. And not only that, but Storyblocks actually has a built-in plugin for Premiere Pro. You guys can find it at the Adobe Marketplace. And what's really cool about the Storyblocks Premiere plugin is that you don't have to leave Premiere to go on your browser and then type and search away and then download and, you know, import the footage and all this extra steps. Instead, you get this really nice extension here that is a pop-up window right inside of your Premiere. You can type in whatever you want and then instantly hit download, and it's gonna get imported into your bin. What's really cool about this also is that same with all the motion graphics templates. Before, I would download a motion graphics template, have to go into Premiere and hit import and then wait for it to pull up. Now I can search up whatever motion graphics template I want, and then instantly it's gonna import that right there into my essential graphics panel, which is just freaking mind-blowing. I don't think there's any tool like it. Recently, I've been doing this for all the videos on the channel. That way that we can pump out more content that's high quality and actually has some sound effects that really match the scene. scenes. And if I look at a scene and say, hey, maybe this needs a whoosh sound effect, I can just type in whoosh, preview it, download it, and boom, it's already in my project. So that is another pro tip for you guys if you're curious how some of these techniques can actually get applied to works of your own. Now, once we've gotten some awesome sound design in there, we've matched up some sound effects that match the footage and the different animation transitions, I think this is pretty much all good to go. And just like that, you guys have the foundation for some pretty awesome looking intros. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and ding that notification bell, because we talk about all sorts of motion design, animation, VFX, you name it, we got it. Also, I want to send a huge thanks to everyone who has been supporting the channel, has been helping us reach our goals. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Peace.